Underway, day 2 of SEC Media Days from the Omni in downtown Dallas, Texas. Don't mind throwing a little Dusty Rhodes reference out of the gate. How are you, West Neighbors?
I'm doing good, Dusty.
Woo! I guess that'd be some Ric Flair action.
Yeah.
It is amazing to me walking up and down here today how many jokers are heading over to the All-Star game, because that is tonight. And by the way, we are leading up to the All-Star game as we have the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference set to join us here momentarily. And it was 3 years ago.
That's right. Sitting right here.
Sitting right here as we were talking to the commissioner when all of a sudden we found out about a couple of teams heading in to the SEC, and lo and behold, here we be 3 years later, and all of a sudden we are in Dallas, Texas, and welcoming in Texas and Oklahoma. Commissioner Greg Sankey is with us. How are you, sir?
You just got to put the headset on, like front in the front. Back in the back. I'm not a radio professional like you guys.
So we were just discussing 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We were interviewing when the news broke.
Yeah.
And we could tell you by your answer that they were coming.
My stress level was high. Yeah. When in fact I was on in Baton Rouge, and they were the one after our conversation. So remember, I do look back on that and think of all that's happened in the last 3 years is a pretty good indication of the wisdom of our decision making. We've not been reacting. We were leaders then, and we remain leaders, and I want us to remain in that position.
Well, I know a lot was made about 16 today, 16 tomorrow, but in terms of Oklahoma and Texas, was that a joint phone call? Did they call you collectively?
Yes, yeah, and they wanted, wherever they were headed, wanted to do it together. I think that's a recognition of the importance of some of these historic ties, which have been restored, actually. And, you know, I wasn't really sure that some of the stuff I'd heard was true until the representation was they wanted to do something together.
How quick of a turnaround was it from phone call to the news breaking?
Well, it really was in late spring, early summer 21. And we had a president's meeting, I think on June 2nd. It was in person, and 21 was our first in-person meeting of presidents, where I just kind of laid out that they had reached out. And I felt it was really serious and that these conversations could stop if that's what was desired by our presidents, but asked them for permission to continue unless they objected. That was supported. We went through conversations, and basically both Oklahoma and Texas had the responsibility to deal with their Big 12 relationship before we could engage in any in-depth conversation. There were no promises, no commitments, no invitations issued. There was a Monday after the news story on that Wednesday when we were visiting, where they notified the Big 12 that in 2025 they were going to affiliate with a different league. The next morning they applied to the Southeastern Conference, and I had told both presidents, I said, I can't guarantee you an invitation. If this is where you want to be, this would be a pretty strong indication that this is your priority, but that risk is there. And until that, so Monday, Tuesday, they sent the letter. Thursday afternoon, we took a vote. It was a unanimous vote. I've given a great deal of credit to the leadership at Texas A&M, knowing adding an in-state rival is a stress point. But again, looking back, you've now seen the Big Ten expand with USC and UCLA. I don't think that was just because of our decision. That potential was there before. Last year, you saw us able to watch what's happening around us when everybody else moved, but we looked at the 16 we have and said, this makes the most sense. And I think that explains the why of our decision back in 2021.
So when you kind of look at what's happening, and UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten, and do you think that the Big Ten is going to stop, or do you think that the conference thing is going to continue to unfold?
I don't have the ability to tell you for somebody else what will or won't happen. I think for us, when I say it's 16 today and it's 16 tomorrow, that's the right focus. And I assume because everybody else has newer movement, that their level of work is higher than ours because they may have more or more recent additions. And again, my assumption is they're focusing on that growth as their priority and getting it right. You know, we have, and I was asked questions yesterday about another conference where there's some litigation. And the very clear message from our presidents is we don't want to be entangled in lawsuits around expansion. So I'm not a recruiter. I have to pay attention to what happens, but we don't have the need to just jump to 16. And I think it's a mistake to put a number out there as a target. What you want is similarly committed universities who want high-level athletic programs and have a fan base with the highest level of interest that for us still provide some geographic continuity. We are in the southeastern quadrant of the United States. And when you think about the ACC has the Atlantic Coast Conference has Stanford and Cal. That's not something I ever would have guessed. You've got from Orlando, Florida, out to Tucson, Arizona, Phoenix area. I mean, that's a long way when you're trying to figure out, you know, how to conduct your competition. And my philosophy, and people at some point can tell me I'm completely wrong, is what we do in football helps build what we do in basketball, which helps build what we do in softball and baseball, which helps build what we do in football the next year. And that's part of why we want our teams to play each other with a level of frequency.
So have you received any phone calls, say, from Florida State or Clemson in that regard?
No, I don't talk about people. I've gotten phone calls from all over, but nothing that's related to some expansion. I know people, I see them at games and see them at different events and say hello from a colleague standpoint, but I'm not focused on expansion.
So go ahead.
Well, so it's kind of changing the subject. As far as the lawsuits and all the things going, extenuating factors coming from the NCAA lawsuits, and how much pressure is that going to put on the schools and in the Southeastern Conference?
Well, there's no place I'd rather be at a time of change than in the Southeastern Conference. If I'm on a campus, I think it puts pressure on all of us. So they're going to have to review their budget, their financial commitments. I have to do the same. That was part of our conversation with our presidents and chancellors and our executive committee in May. The reality is, over the last 15 years, the courts have not been receptive to our arguments. And so they're saying you have to adapt, and that's at the Supreme Court level. And so we're in the middle of adaptation that will benefit economically the participants. We still need, though, a set of national standards. And to the extent we can gain some of those through legal settlement, great. To the extent we need other venues for that decision making, we'll have to pursue those. And that's why the congressional conversation remains relevant.
Hearing Brett Yormark last week talk about, in particular, the settlement, and I know that's been a big conversation that you discussed down in Destin, but he was talking a bit more in absolutes, that because there is still a little bit of wiggle room, that this is not a completely done deal by the time we get to the next academic year.
I think we'll next year at this time have a much higher level of clarity. Will it take care of every issue that somebody's asked me about? It will not. It will deal with the issues present in the lawsuit, and we're going to have to go through a decade or 2 decades worth of change in a matter of months. And it's our responsibility in the big picture, not just myself as a commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, but those of us in high-level leadership roles on campus and in conference offices to make these decisions in short order. There's a book called Be Quick But Don't Hurry, which is a maxim that John Wooden used when he was a coach. And we have to be quick but not hurry in our decision-making.
There are a lot of decisions to make, though, are there not?
Absolutely. And I think they're decisions that have been hard to make because over time, the observation, I've had people say this to me in Washington, D.C., in meetings in New York City, which is, we thought it worked really well. And I think it was perceived college athletics is working really well. Not perfect, but nothing's perfect. But now we're being really required, mandated to change. And we want to change in a way that provides a level of support to the participants, but also allows a breadth of programs to continue.
So when you say congressional support, really that's the only thing that can stop the lawsuits. Would you agree with that? That they're going to have to do something where people are just going to continue to sue?
Well, people can sue, and we see that. The NFL just lost a lawsuit judgment around Sunday Ticket. You can go and Google like legal issues around professional leagues. They all have lawsuits still. And even if you're unionized, the union can decertify and then file an antitrust lawsuit. So that's the society that we're in. I think what Congress can do first is preempt state laws so we don't have this patchwork that provides a state-by-state basis for competition where you have no idea the rules that are being followed by the person on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Or if you're 17 or 18 years old being recruited by 10 different universities in 10 different states, it's not fair to expect that person. It's hard enough to figure out what you're going to do, much less understand 10 different sets of state laws. And so if we want Final Fours, if we want national competition, if we want competition outside of just our state boundary lines, you need standards. Congress can do that. Uniform state law can do that. That's the difficult path to achieve. We have to work on both. Congress can help with some legal protection. So as we increase the benefits, we don't just experience lawsuits from those who didn't have those or don't think they go far enough. But, all of that's a work project because, Congress, we have elected leaders. We expect them to lead, but it's a difficult time to bring things to the finish line.
Where do you go for advice? Maybe just a think tank of trying to get everyone on the same page and just moving forward because of not just the Big Ten going through this, the SEC going, Power 5 or Power 4, going through this. But where do you go to seek advice?
Well, there are different levels. One is internally. So we have outstanding leaders on our campuses and the presidents and chancellors level and our athletics directors as well. So that's a point of conversation. What do you think? And exchanging of ideas. Among the commissioners, I actually think there's pretty effective communication and collaboration. We spent I think 2.5 hours on a call on a Friday afternoon in July last Friday, which nobody really wants to do, but that's the work and talking through some of the changes that may be on our plates. I actually have been intentional about going outside of just the sports realm to talk about what do you think from the outside. And I think one of the threats when you work in college sports is it's such a high profile and there's so much interest. You can kind of talk within your little bubble of influence, and here it's like an echo chamber. You hear the same things because you're running in the same circles. But I have a couple friends who are West Point graduates that have led in different industries, and you call them up and talk. I have a friend here who is a pastor in Dallas, and from time to time I've called and said, what do you think? I've called a couple Division III athletics directors that I worked with years ago and said, hey, how does this look? Are you paying attention to this? And, if they say I'm not paying attention to it, I learned something from that they don't understand maybe how some of these decisions will affect them. And then they'll start to ask me questions from time to time. So I think if you're intentional, you can access a breadth of kind of counselors, and that's a benefit in this role.
One of the things we were at the spring meetings and a couple of things that we're talking about are doing away with walk-ons. Some of the Olympic sports becoming club sports. Are those all things that are being considered as part of the change?
I think those are more the sky is falling topics. It's like the half empty perspective. There is going to be change around roster structure. That doesn't mean we limit opportunities. That may mean there may not be as many. It's not unlimited. Our commitment is we want to continue the breadth of sport opportunities, and we're heading into Olympic year. And this is where I think our congressional leaders need to understand that the Southeastern Conference alone provides over a third of the U.S. track and field team. That's a huge medal count. We provide over a third of the U.S. swimming and diving team from this 16-member league. Again, those two sports produce huge numbers of medals. And on the world stage, that is important for us. And there is no federal Olympic program. There is no state-based Olympic development program. It is all done through our university campuses. Yep, there's some Olympic development programs. Some of the sports are a little bit different. We don't have cross-country skiing, so they're not coming through ours for the biathlon and the Winter Olympics. But in those high medal counts in the Summer Olympics, the product of college sports support system is the Olympic support system, and that needs to be acknowledged. And Congress has a role in helping us make sure that continues.
Well, Senator Tuberville is a friend of the show, and we had him on last week. And when we mentioned them doing away with walk-ons, he didn't know that. It got his attention.
Well, there may be that we have some work to do to capture attention. And Senator Tuberville and I've encountered each other a couple of times in my last visit. I know he's attentive to it. And, part of the effort, there's so much going on in Washington. I mean this respectfully. You've got presidential election. You have what happened Saturday that draws attention away. You have Ukraine. You have Israel and Gaza. You have threats from enemies posturing. You have economic issues. You have inflation. You have budgetary issues. You have to appoint judges. You have to appoint generals and things like that. There's a lot happening, and it's challenging for them to get done what they have to get done. And so what we want them to get done is not something you can assume that takes place. And they typically respond. Our lobbying firm has told us to deadlines or crises, and I think we're moving more towards that crisis point where that action is needed.
I cannot help but think of something you said down in Destin of that you applied when the job was open, in 2002 for the Southeastern Conference?
I had received a call from a search firm thinking that I was somehow prepared, and I was no more prepared for this job in 2002 than I was to fly a spaceship. And, I had been a small level conference commissioner just up the road here, and it was great to be at the end of the hallway making decisions, great training ground. But I had the benefit of 13 years kind of adjusting to life and the intensity of the SEC. And it's a bit hard for me to explain to my colleagues. I'm just going to tell you it's a little bit different role than some of you experience, even at
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what your day-to-day is.
I was on an airplane in in Syracuse, New York. That's a long way away from SEC country. And had 2 fans, one a Gator, a Florida alum, and one a Georgia alum. They were very kind, but just shared their thoughts on college sports. So that's what I deal with. I was
that
not
the first fight you broke up?
No, they were good with each other. They were good with each other. That was what I said. Yeah, we actually bring people together. So all good.
We can't thank you enough for stopping by. That is the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, Greg Sankey, kind enough to join us. We are actually going to stay put right here as Brett McMurphy is going to be kind enough to join us here momentarily, as he is literally in the on-deck circle. Thank you very much, Commissioner. As we are going to stay put right here, and Brett is making his way over. This is day 2 coverage of SEC Media Days. We had Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Mizzou. And where did I put the headset? There you go. As Brett McMurphy, Action Network, is kind enough to join us here, and we can make that work. How are you, Brett?
Good. Is this thing on?
Yes, sir. Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It's been a long day. Bad jokes aside. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. I'm good. There is, there is a lot going on in the terms of covering college football. How do you wrap around exactly your perspective of what is going on around the world of collegiate athletics, in your opinion?
There's just so much stuff going on. I know you just had Greg Sankey on. I think the most frustrating thing for people at the highest level of college athletics, like Greg and other commissioners and university presidents, is you don't know where this is headed. You've got the House settlement lawsuit. You've got various lawsuits in the system. You've got, are we going to pay players, directly? Is it going to be revenue sharing? Are they going to be employees? We don't know where this is going to go. And that's the most frustrating thing. How is the NCAA? Are they going to play a part of this? Is there going to be an NCAA? And so I think that's really challenging for all these people, because these are very smart people, but they don't know what to do. And I joke with them. It's like, you guys are just, I'm sure you're having a meeting every day, and it's like, you're just, okay, today we're going to do this. And you might as well write your plans on the beach, because the waves are going to come up and wash it off, and you have to start it over the next day. Like NIL. How do you, no one knows what's going to, roster management. There's so much stuff. And then, for me personally, today I reported about, Florida State. They have no interest from the Big Ten or the SEC for Florida State, and so, I kind of go at that angle, but there's just so much stuff going on. Great for you guys, great content, but
it's a lot to wrap around.
It's never ending. Yeah.
And that is just,
well, I think the answer to the 3 questions you have right now are yes, right? Yes, there's going to be NIL. Yes, there's going to be, they're going to pay them outside in collectives, and yes, the university is going to pay them.
Yeah, but how much? Is it a percentage? Is it direct for the school? Is it revenue sharing? Again, they have to all do this, and the SEC is going to want to do something. The Big Ten is going to want to do something, and then everybody else is going to want to match those conferences, because if they don't, the best players are going to go to those 2 leagues because they're going to pay the most. But every other league's going to say, well, we're going to do what the SEC is going to do. We're going to do what the Big Ten's going to do. Well, that's great. Just because you want to do it doesn't mean you can, or financially you can. And other schools, conferences may leverage themselves. I kind of compare it to buying a house with a credit card. It'll work for a couple of months, and then the interest is going to bury you. And so that's what's going to happen with all these conferences not named SEC and Big Ten. And that's why it's frustrating for Greg Sankey and Tony Batiti and Brett Yormark and all those guys.
Yeah, it's the only, and he basically said it. The only thing is, the Congress is the only thing that can really stop this ball from rolling downhill.
Yeah, and if you're the Congress, do you really want to get involved in college athletics? I mean, I'm sure some do, but some do. I mean, yeah. I'm sure they got bigger things to deal with.
But I think that's why we're hearing the walk-ons going away. I mean, he said as much. It's a crisis. It's going to take a crisis. And with walk-ons going away and the Olympic sports being threatened.
Well, it feels like we're getting bit by bit of this story, and we're waiting for that little bit of this gigantic story for the Congress to go, oh, wow, we need to do something about this. We have not reached that point of no return yet.
It'll happen in January, I believe. Because Sankey just told us that basically that he was talking about the Olympic sports and how many people from the Southeastern Conference are in the Olympics.
Right.
And the Olympics, they're not paying anything for that. Like over half of the swimmers and track all come from the Southeastern Conference, and they're not paying anything for that. And I think I got the feeling at the spring meetings that were 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks
It feels that way.
Yeah, that they were pushing hot buttons. I told Steve that.
Yeah.
And then he pretty much said that just now to us. It's going to take a crisis to get Congress. And so we had Senator Tuberville, Coach, on last week. And when we said that they were going to do away with walk-ons, he said, what?
Wait, it was, he didn't know about it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's what it's going to, Brett, I think that's what it's going to take. Because basically the Supreme Court gave everybody an open book to sue.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And if we settle this lawsuit, guess what? 2 more people are going to sue.
Oh, yeah. 2 more coming down the pipe.
And then there'll be 2 more and 2 more. It's never going to end unless Congress does something. I mean, you just kind of look at it, and we've had this discussion, and it is frustrating because you're sitting there looking, okay, they need to do this, this, and this will fix it. But no conference can do it; they'll just get sued. I mean, what's fair? Yeah, I mean,
it's a weird time in college athletics, and that's, you mentioned specifically the walk-ons. Okay, you figure out the walk-ons, and then there's something else. It's whack-a-mole. Something else pops up.
Well, the reason they're doing the walk-ons is because of Title IX. They count as scholarships.
I know, and then if you want to get really radical, the football programs break away from the universities, and you have the SEC Football Federation. And what does that mean? Well, that means they go to Vanderbilt and they say, look, Vanderbilt, you're an SEC member in every sport but football, but we have our football federation over here. It's technically not the SEC conference, so you're not invited. But we're going to bring in, Ohio State, and they're going to be part of the SEC Football Federation, and we're going to do, if you want to get really radical down the road, I think we get where we're the NFC and the AFC, and you've got 2 quote conferences, if you were 2 federations or 2 groups of the top 40, 50, 60 teams, and they go play football, and they're split from the university, so they can do whatever they want.
They lease the stadium, right?
They lease the stadium, and you think, oh, well, why? Alabama doesn't want to lease the stadium to University of Alabama and to the football team, and then the football team, okay, fine, we'll go play at Birmingham, and they're like, well, wait, we'll lease the stadium to you. We'll let you use the uniforms. We'll let you use the trademark and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to get really radical, you do that. You pay the players or employees. That you have the option of going to school if you want. You don't have to go to school. That sounds so absurd and so crazy. But
it might be what they have to do.
Right, and that's where we don't know where we're going to end up. If I would have told you 5 years ago, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington are going to the Big Ten, Oklahoma and Texas are in the Big 12, and Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado are in the Big 12.
I'm glad you're keeping it straight.
The other, I'm probably screwed some of these up. You'd be like, okay, it's a bad week that stop taking amphetamines. But
it's an airplane scene.
Yes, thanks for all the old timers who get the airplane reference. But you could be right, and it could be way off. Nope. Again, nobody. There's no clear cut. This is what it's going to be, and that's the challenge that they're kind of facing.
This is all heavy. I mean, it feels like it's getting heavier by the day surrounding this, and it's hard to wrap my head around it. But I do think if there wasn't a change for the Big Ten, that if Petitti wasn't in charge, whether or not that relationship between the SEC and the Big Ten would be like it is today. And I think that's significant because of what two conferences mean to the NCAA, Brett.
Right, and they'll have discussions, but ultimately, if the SEC wants to, I don't know, pay players $1 million, and Big Ten only wants to pay $750,000, well, the SEC is not going to go, you know what? Okay, we'll drop it to your amount. They'll be like, okay, fine, you pay $750, we're going to pay $1 million. I mean, they can talk and have discussions, and again, that kind of gets to my further down the road where we have two conferences split, and it would be the SEC conference or the Big Ten conference or federation or whatever. And of course, I think they want to do what's keeps everybody involved in college athletics, specifically football. But they're also not going. This is not the old day where Alabama could only have 9 assistant coaches because San Jose State can only have 9 assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Those days are long gone. So, they're going to do what's best for their conference. And that's kind of how we've gotten to this point. Everyone's like, well, we need a commissioner. We need a commissioner. Guess what? We're not going to have a commissioner. Why? It's not that we don't need one. It's that because Greg Sankey and Tony Batiti and Brett Yormark and Jim Phillips are not going to appoint you as their boss.
Yeah.
They have their bosses. It's called university presidents. And everybody does. Greg Sankey does what's best for the SEC. Tony Batiti does what's best for the Big Ten. And that's what they should do. That's their job. But sometimes when you do that, it impacts all these different conferences, which is why we have the pecking order we do in college athletics right now, the haves and the have-nots. It grows bigger and bigger every single day, and it makes the Grand Canyon look small.
That's the truth.
How he handled Greg Sankey handling COVID and that whole deal is how much of a factor is that talking point of he needs to be in charge. Greg Sankey needs to be in charge of college football.
The Big Ten's not going to put him in charge of college football. Yeah, I mean, he did great. I mean, no, I want to be clear. I'm not diminishing what he did. He was smart. He basically said, well, hold on. We don't have to make a decision now. Let's wait and see what happens. And oh, by the way, everyone that canceled because of COVID turned around and said, oh, you know what? We screwed up. We'll play some games.
But it was actually the Big 12 commissioner that was with him on that.
Bowlesby? Yeah.
He was actually the first one that, I mean, and
well, it's like the Big Ten and the Big Ten was in a race with the Ivy League on who could cancel the season first because we're going to look great, and then they canceled it, and then it's like, okay, here comes the Mountain West, the MAC, the Pac-12. I mean, it was just like, well, okay, they did it. Now it's okay for us to do it. And, I give Greg credit. I give Bob credit. They kind of said, okay, let's wait.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah. Let's hold on. So, no, I'm not saying he wouldn't be great. I mean, it's obvious who the next commissioner, well, besides me, it's obvious who the next commissioner should be. And he's not in the building anymore, but he's been here all week, and that's Nick Saban.
Yeah.
But again, those commissioners, unless financially motivated to do so, are not going to appoint somebody. But if you guys are the boss at your place of employment, do you really want to bring somebody in and say, okay, now you're over me now? No, I mean, that's human nature.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that unless they're instructed by the university presidents to do so. University presidents got enough things to worry about. I don't think that happens.
So the other underreported story for the week, evidently, that we're not really doing yet is the fact that Texas is taking over the SEC. I mean, it's very clear just going in the main media room that Texas, and you would have thought Texas owned the Big 12, and I'd argue maybe they didn't own the Big 12.
Financially, they did.
Yes, they did financially.
Not necessarily wins and losses. Everything's bigger in Texas. So, I mean, look, everyone can laugh about, Texas and all, whatever, but
they do have a good team this year.
Are you looking out the window? We're in Dallas, Texas, guys.
Yes, we are.
That's not because of Texas A&M. Okay. And it's funny, last year when, where it all runs together. Wherever Media Days was last year.
Nashville.
It was Nashville.
Nashville, thank you. So I find out that the new Media Days are going to be in Dallas before Sankey goes up and talks. And so I tweet out, next year's Media Days are going to be in Dallas, Texas, sources said. The first time that the media days will be in the, and I had a brain fart and I said, we'll be in the Longhorn State instead of the Lone Star State. So all the A&M fans were just
ripping you.
hailing down on me. And one of the guys from A&M is sitting behind me. He goes, "Hey, Brett, you just tweeted it's the Longhorn State. Did you mean the Longhorn? Did you mean the Lone Star State?" And then I saw the responses and I'm like, yeah. Just to screw with people. But dude, I'm serious. I mean, look. And I'll say that we're talking about, you're saying, well, it's Texas. We're in Alabama. You're talking about Texas.
Yeah.
And I talked to an SEC official today about this. We were talking about my story about Florida State, in the Big Ten, and SEC are squeezing them out. And one of the arguments of Florida State is, well, the SEC will take another second team in Florida because they took a second team in Texas. They added Texas. I'm like, look, there's Notre Dame, Texas, and everybody else as far as value, TV eyeballs, and all that. What I said to this SEC official was, tell me if I'm wrong. If the SEC initially had Texas, would they have added Texas A&M? And he said, gosh, I don't know if we would or not. So it's like, it's not that much of a stretch to say A&M would not be in the SEC if the SEC somehow would have had Texas before they got A&M. But look, it's people are got, the official talked about the horns down. Is that a penalty? Dude, I talked to him last year about it. I got 1 million views on Twitter. I saw him yesterday. I saw him and I went up to him and I showed him my tweet from last year and I said, "Is this still accurate?" And he read it and he goes, "Yep." So I knew he was coming on at 8:30.
Yeah.
So I had to break it. So at 8 o'clock, I retweeted what I said last year. And last I looked, it's like 700,000 people are looking. So they generate a lot of buzz. They're the New York Yankees. You love them or you hate them, but you're not on the fence with them.
Well, all I know is I went to the Texas game, Alabama game 2 years ago in Texas. And everybody was saying any Alabama fans, they were showing us we were number one. So I think that the hook 'em horns down. Well, who cares? I mean, if they can, these people are complaining about that. I don't get it.
Are we on video right now?
Yes.
Am I on video?
Yes.
Okay. I won't show you the hook 'em horn sign I learned growing up in Oklahoma. I'll do it off the air.
Hold on. Now you can.
Yeah, we're okay. Yeah, you can do it now.
Well, that's
there you go.
Okay, that was where
Okay.
Grew up
that
a
was worth
lifetime Oklahoma fan, but I went to Oklahoma State because I got a scholarship. So yes, I can be bought.
Yeah, he was on scholarship.
yeah.
Who is your pick to end up in Atlanta, even though we don't know the tie-breaking rules right now?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about the tie-breaking rules. They're trying to figure it out, and I said, let's just do it like Texas high school football. You have to. The two teams will drive the equal distance to a convenience store, and we'll get a local TV station, and we'll flip a coin.
A special coin.
A special coin. I know Missouri's got the schedule. They were fortunate last year. I don't think they're going to get there. It's more I'm trying to eliminate teams at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Georgia should be there. They absolutely should be there. It's the boring pick.
Schedule, though.
Texas, I think Texas and Oklahoma coming from the Big 12 it's going to be a big difference. It really is. And, I'm an Oklahoma State guy, but SEC is a different level. And I was looking this up. There's been 16 teams that have made the jump from either a group of 5 to a Power 5 or from a Power 5 to a better Power 5 team. 16 teams. Of those 16 teams, only 3 in their first year in their new league had a winning record in conference play. So 13 had a losing record. I'm not saying Texas and Oklahoma are going to go 4-5, but I also don't think they're going to go 8-1 or 7-2. I could see some 6-3s. I actually think, even though the GOAT's gone, I love Kalen DeBoer. I think Alabama.
Is
I
it
think
just because
Alabama
you're
and
reading-
Georgia. No, I wouldn't. I mean, look, believe me, if I was on Nashville radio right now. Well, I think Vanderbilt's going to be there.
I'm messing with you. Yeah.
No, I love Kalen DeBoer. It's nobody's ever going to match what Saban did. But you look at DeBoer's history. My God, it's won like 90% of his games. Granted, it's a short window. They're doing things differently. I just like that. I think Tennessee kind of a dark horse, but they got to figure out how to play some defense. I think a dark horse, and I wrote about this the other day. I don't know if you saw it. LSU and Brian Kelly. This is his third year at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, Central Michigan, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, year 3. 38 total games coached, 33-5, including taking Cincinnati undefeated to the Sugar Bowl as a Group 5 team. They got up to number 4 in the country. Of course, at Notre Dame, 12-0, ranked number 1. They did get Seal Club by Alabama. But in year 3, and he told me he thinks this LSU team has a lot of the same characteristics in year 3 that those other schools did. So I know, you lost Jaden Daniels. You lost the 2 stud wide receivers.
The same defense
you
is coming
lost
back.
6
That's
guys.
their problem.
Well, potentially, but they got Perkins. They can't be any worse. But I'm just saying, year 3, Kelly has had monster seasons. Nobody's picking them. They could come out of nowhere. And I also think, a lot of it, I'm sure you guys have broken it down, is the schedule's going to play a big part. Yeah. Like I mentioned, Missouri, they've got a cakewalk through there, but I'm not sold on that. I'm kind of the same way with Ole Miss. You got to prove it to me that you can do it. So I'm going with the boring Georgia, Alabama once again.
How many seeds are going to come out of the SEC?
How many get to the playoff? Let's see, 12-team playoffs. So I'm projecting 13 SEC teams.
Come on, bro. What, 4? Maybe?
Oh wait, Group of 5 gets in. So no, only 11. I think definitely 3. I think the Big Ten gets 3. I think the Big 12 only gets 1 because that conference is going to be crazy. It's so balanced. It's quicker to name teams I think can't win that league than can win the league. I think ACC gets 2. So my math real quick, 3, 3, 2, 8, Group 5, 9. We still got 3 spots left. So potentially they could get a 4th. I'd be shocked if anybody got 5. So I think you'll probably see a 4.
There'll be a 3-loss team.
No doubt. Well, there could be a 4-loss team. And I think I don't think we're going to have any undefeated teams anywhere. Ohio State's not going to do it. Georgia's not going to do it. I think the SEC champ could have 2 losses. I think the Big Ten champ has 2 losses. I think the ACC champ has a minimum of 2, maybe 3. The Big 12 champ has 3 or 4 losses. And it's not that the quality of football has gone down. It's you guys have seen the schedule. We've got these bloated conferences, and TV has dictated all these monster matchups. Yeah. So you're not playing, Sisters of the Poor every week. You're actually playing monster TV games, which the good news is the fans will love this. The bad news is the fan bases that are used to going 12-0 and 11-1, you've got a rude awakening coming. And also, I think another thing, and I was talking to Greg McElroy about this. I don't know if you've heard of him. He played quarterback at Alabama. Okay.
Occasionally.
I worked with him at ESPN. I didn't know if you knew who he was. So anyway, Greg's like, another thing to think of is, the 14 playoff, you knew basically 12-0.
Yeah.
You got to do it. Like Kirby loses the SEC title game, and he goes, I know we're out.
Yep.
Which, by the way, they got screwed more than anybody else last year. But now we know with the 12-team playoff, everybody's talked about it. You don't have to run the table. How does that mindset seep in if you know that? Does that mean, you're going to get up for Texas, and then the next week you're playing a South Carolina or you're playing a Mississippi State? It's human nature. There's a letdown. Plus the physical toll of playing these tougher games. Keep in mind, you're playing these better teams. Your starters are in the game longer. So now they're playing, Alabama's, traditionally monster halftime lead, play the first series in the third quarter, and then the rest of the game, Saban, fullback up the middle. I know you don't have fullback, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then punt and play defense and cut the game in half. Well, now you're going to the third quarter, you're going to the fourth quarter with these games, multiple games, your starters are playing more chance for injury. I think all that snowballs, and you're going to see a lot of really good teams.
Attrition will
with
get
some
them.
losses. Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about attrition with just a 4-team playoff, let alone 12 teams.
Yeah, but like Eli Drinkwitz talked about, you've got 11. You could have somebody could play 17 games.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Kirby Smart talked about that. You get as physical ready as you can. You have to have them ready to go. Some coaches may do the opposite and say, let's take it easy. We need to pace ourselves. What's the right way? It depends on your situation and your school, but a lot of new things. But I think ultimately the college football playoff will be great. Not because we'll have a new champ. It's going to be the usual suspects will be in the Final Four. Excuse me.
It'll take us longer to get there, though.
It'll take us longer to
January
get there.
20th.
But when we get to November, we're going to have literally 30 teams in contention. When you look at the group of 5 teams that can win their league, when you look at the number of at-large teams, now you're going as deep as the top 20, where before you're only going like 6 or 7 deep because there was only ones that could jump up into the top 4. So that'll keep more fan bases engaged when we get into November. And then 2 seconds into the first playoff game on the campus site, all of Twitter, and when I say all of Twitter, I mean me, will be tweeting out, why aren't we playing every playoff game on campus except for the national title game?
I'm
needs to be
you.
a neutral site.
Yeah.
That is going to be so freaking cool. I envision it like an LSU night game
Oh my goodness.
on Saturday night, the playoff
Well,
atmosphere.
that's not going to happen because nobody can drink as much as they can. I mean, I can tell you, my son played there. I'm a lifelong Alabama fan. It's something that
I've been
it's not
there.
there. It's not every game.
Right.
It's just the special games.
Right. I was there when they beat Florida with Tebow and they were number 1. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie World War Z. I don't know if you saw it or not.
No.
But have you seen it? It's okay. It's your
He's
producer over
probably
here
got the
knows.
video game.
So no, but there's a part of the movie where it's the zombies, but they're climbing walls and they look like ants. They look because they're all tuned in together. The clock goes 3, 2, 1. I'm on the field. I turn to my left in the goalpost. It looked like a hole open in the ground. It went straight down because the fans were like ants climbing on it, and the weight just. I turned to my right. The other one had already toppled from the fans, and it was like ants just coming on the field. Most incredible atmosphere I've ever been at. So
it's
the college football playoff may not be that crazy, but it's going to be like, why haven't we done this before?
Yeah. That was
Nealon,
the best idea.
Nealon 2 years ago when they beat Bama.
Yeah,
was-
they can't get the
my
get the goalpost out of the stadium, so they go up to the top and throw it over the roof. Which I was talking to somebody about this because when Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma State students did the same thing. They carried it down to Theta Pond and threw it in the pond. Tennessee throws it in the river.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, what? But then the smart guys come in afterwards and they go in and take it out, cut it up. They
And
go
sell it.
hang it in the fraternity house or hang it over the bar. Those are the smart guys. You can't get emotional and throw it in the water. You got to take it. This is, come on,
It's hard to
capitalism
yeah,
101 here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
last chance to do the horns, the Oklahoma State horns on camera.
It's not Oklahoma State.
it's Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
You're free to you're free to do it.
Okay. Brett, you're the
Thank
best.
you.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
Let's take our first time out. It's our coverage of day 2 of SEC Media Days, live from Dallas, Texas, where they're owning this joint.
You're listening to SEC Media Days on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now. and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialist from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at North Alabama Mortgage. Did you know that average home equity is at an all-time high? But so is average consumer debt. Even though rates are higher now, you can use your equity to pay off your high consumer debt, student loans, etc., then refi when the rates drop. Don't put off that new home purchase. When rates drop, prices will go up. Buy now and get the best price and then refi when the rates drop. This is the time to talk to the experts at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com
I don't expect
for
them
more
to change.
information.
That's two great universities.
25 years of appliance experience, Mike Owen and the good folks at Owen Home Appliance are known for their great selection of used appliances. But did you know that they now carry new appliances as well? Brands like Frigidaire, GE, Sharp, Danby, Samsung, Z-Line, and yes, Speed Queen Laundry is available at Owen Home Appliance. Plus, they have recliners so you can relax and watch the game. Give Mike a call at 256-754-5052 or head down to the store at 11 Union Hill Road in Somerville. Owen Home Appliance. They'll treat you right.
When the most respected company worldwide puts its name on a real estate sign, that's a sign you'll want to see. When a company known for straight talk enters real estate, that's...
Okay, so for those of you listening down the line, I need to talk to Brian because that was way too long. I don't mind showing you a little bit of the guts here. Brian, what do I need to do for us to get back on time for the top? Do I need to make the next segment very short, or... Media Days, and a big thank you to all of our sponsors allowing us to be here at SEC Media Days. And in terms of this fine program, of course, this hour brought to you by our fine folks at Woody Anderson Ford, 2 locations better to serve you. And we always enjoy our visits to Woody Anderson Ford. In fact, we're sneaking up on another one because as soon as we get back, we got high school media days, which, by the way, a big thank you to Fleming Roofing and Restoration, as they are the sponsor of our second annual high school media day, and that comes up on Monday. Also, I want to thank Eagle Masonry and Insulation, Current Electric, Chapman Realty, and say it with me, Brookshire Hathaway and Adams for allowing us to be here in the Big D. So we are going to walk you up here momentarily for the top of the hour, but Kirby Smart was front and center earlier today. Drudy Armon, I'm not sure if I'll have time to play that full answer on that question, but he always adopts things to study outside of the realm of sports, and he went to Oregon and talked to the folks at Nike.
Name come from. So if you assume that you know everybody's name, you may not know what that name means. We had each player get up in front of the team, they say what their first middle and last name and where that came from. I encourage you, if you've never done that exercise in an organization, do it, because you learn more about somebody when you know what they got their name from and what it stands for and what it meant in their family, what it meant in their lineage. It's very important, and you get a lot of deep conversations to know somebody better, which when you're on the field with somebody, you go to battle with somebody out on the field, you better be able to know what their reasoning is. And I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed our study of Nike as we went through.
So that is a little bit of what actually Kirby started out by giving a shout out to Coach Saban and not needing a credential to get into the building today, unlike a certain ESPN employee.
I do want it to be duly noted that I got in here without a credential today. So first time I've gotten through that door there after the news I heard yesterday. Thanks, Greg.
Our own Jordy Arman did ask Kirby a question. It's about a former Alabama coach that is now in Athens.
Coach Smart, Drew DeArmond, WCCN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. Much like your mentor, Nick Saban, when you compete at the highest level, you do have staff changes. You mentioned the 4 guys you brought in. What was your thoughts on bringing in Travarius Robinson, and what does he bring to your staff?
Well, first of all, he has a great pedigree as a player. He played in the SEC, and one of the things you can never really justify or explain to people is the culture of the SEC. Number one, recruiting. It's tough. It's hard. It's cutthroat. And you don't have experience in those battles, it's hard to win those battles. He was a really good player. He played for Coach Tuberville, who has a lot of stories about T-Rob and the great job he's done. I've always recruited against him and had respect for him on the road, the way he carries himself, the way he presents himself, the fact he worked for Coach Muschamp. They have a great relationship. Coach Muschamp vouched for him and talked about the great job he's done, and he's brought in a tremendous energy into our secondary, which is a young secondary, and he got the valuable time that he got to spend over with Coach Saban in Alabama, which is invaluable in terms of knowing how our program operates. So I'm excited to have T-Rob, his family. He's got wonderful family, and I know he's excited to be with us.
That is going to wrap us up here for hour number 1, a very fast first hour, jam-packed here along Radio Row. There's quite a few of these folks that are along this row. They ain't going to be here in 3 minutes because they are heading over to watch a certain Major League Baseball All-Star game here in town. We'll be here for you. In fact, this is your pregame for the All-Star game, as we will have the said All-Star game right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. I'm okay with keeping this for 2 minutes. I'm okay with that, okay? It's all good. Yes. Yes. I don't know what I'm saying yes to, but yes. Say that again. Yes, sir. I thought I said it, but I don't remember if I did that. Does it say ESPN game? Yeah, that's a no-go. I will make it. Give it. It's ESPN NBA. That's what it would be called. ESPN NBA. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Two of SEC Media Days on Radio Row. Let's see here. How many folks are still talking? No.
Not counting us.
No. I think I see one down there. Anyway,
it's called dedication.
There you go. That is Ryan Fowler, who was kind enough to join us because tomorrow, this used to be a big deal. Bama Day is tomorrow, but I'm hearing it's a big day tomorrow. Texas is here.
Oh, please don't get this. Don't listen. I just got a call 10 minutes ago from a guy that's a Texas fan that calls in. I'm tired of hearing it.
Really?
I'm literally about to kick Texas out of the league. It is. I've had enough. I mean, this was the same guy that Drew got a hold of yesterday.
I heard about that.
He called back.
I heard about.
Well, yeah. Oh, he called.
We heard about. I saw we talked about it at dinner last night.
Let me tell you something. Okay, I don't know if I've ever seen Drew that mad. Okay, because it just so happens.
You need to hang around us a little bit more.
Okay, so let me say this. Okay, Drew was saying this guy called in, and Drew was on earlier in the show. He's always on every Monday, and he said something about Drew D. Moron, and he kept calling him Drew D. Moron. Okay, he said Drew D. Moron that was on a couple of minutes ago. I said, "Are you man enough to say it to his face?" I mean, he just kept referring. Here, I'll say it to him. Drew D. Armand, meet Digger on the radio. His name Digger, D-I-G-G-E. Okay, yeah. Digger. I don't know why he goes by Digger. I never heard of any man called Digger.
Well digger.
Yeah. I guess I guess he's a well digger. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I heard a joke about that. Kenny Stabler said it at our banquet.
So Drew D. Armand, he mopped the absolute floor.
That's what he said.
He literally did. He mopped. He called him just about everything in the book. He said, "You'll come down here to the Omni Hotel. I'll show you Drew D. Moron." But I mean, you want to talk smack, but I'm trying. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to understand, where does the arrogance come from? They've had more 5-7s since Alabama played them in the Rose Bowl than I think Alabama's ever had in their entire life. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 5-7 seasons. Texas, like, where does the arrogance come from?
From within.
There you go.
Yeah, it is totally almost bankrupt their program.
Yes, it has.
I mean, until just recently.
Well, they've destroyed every conference they've been a part of.
Yes, that's what. Yeah.
So what are we getting ourselves into?
Well, I mean, I think that we have the right. They're not going to make horns down a penalty.
I mean,
if you do it to a guy's face, just like you do anything taunting, that's different.
Yeah, but that's the same thing. But but Coach Saban yesterday, as little as he talks, okay. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
He said, I'm tired of hearing about Texas. He said that.
Yeah.
Running that. How many times you ever hear?
Texas is not running this conference.
He said Texas is not running, and you sent me the audio clip because I used it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he said it. So he's even hearing it. He's just tired of hearing it. It's like, guys, and then I counter with, didn't Kalen DeBoer beat you with less talent? Twice. I mean, UW had less talent. And have you guys went back and watched some of the UW tape, like against Texas? Like I went back and watched that.
I saw the Texas game, the last one.
Okay. The one play that jumps out to me, and you'll love this as an offensive lineman, okay, and especially a center, because I want you to go back and watch this play, okay. They're on now I thought it was a little bit aggressive. It was in the first half, 34, 35-yard line on their 34, 35, not driving.
Yeah, not on the plus territory.
Okay,
Yeah.
4th and 1. They came out, tried to bark them
They
off.
call that the minus 35.
Okay, so minus 35. See, I'm learning something. See, that's why I hang around smarter people. They always say hang around smarter people, you learn something. All right. 4th and 1, they tried to bark them off. No give and take. I mean, they tried it, called timeout, went to the sidelines. Okay. Came back out, and I said, what are they going to do? They're going to bark them again? They're going to bark them again? Because I was watching the Rose Bowl. I didn't, I've seen the score. When you cover a game, So I'd not seen the game live. Went back and I watched the 4th and 1 play. What do? They ran right up Montez Sweat's butt. I mean, literally, Parker Brailsford blows him completely off the ball, ran right up, and it was 5 or 6 yard gain on first down. I went, he just kicked a Bo Davis. I mean, they really dominated that offensive.
Yeah, they played very well.
That physicality is something that I just maybe am not accustomed to with a Pac-12 team, but
neither was the Pac-12.
And neither was the Pac-12. But and I looked at Parker Brailsford, I'm like, I like this. I mean, he blew him off the ball, and they picked it up by and it was the confidence. I mean, that's confident when you go 4th and 1 and run it right up their gut.
So I wanted to get you on for many reasons, but mainly Kalen DeBoer is very comfortable in his own skin. Very comfortable.
Very.
But I do wonder how he is going to be received and how he's going to take this type of environment.
I think it'll knock it out of the park. Okay. Think about when you guys and myself were down in Sandestin. By the way, it's a little bit different scenery than it is here.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. I love Destin. Beautiful sand, beautiful beaches.
I'd agree.
Yeah, and so we were there, and I remember a couple of national guys before Kalen DeBoer walked in the room. They knew I was from Tuscaloosa. They were kind of picking my brain like, okay. Even a guy like Mike Griffith, who was a kind of a doubter, right? He said, what's it going to be like? What's it going to be like? Multiple guys after Kalen DeBoer, because he did the media availability, and then he went outside and did another 30 minutes. And you and I were right there.
Yeah.
And they were all like, they walked up and said, son of a gun. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, how impressive he was. Now, he can be, there's a nickname that's kind of floating around. I didn't use it. It was DeBoering. Okay, or boring DeBoer or something like that they call it. Because he don't give you a lot, but you got to dig a little deeper. It's not one of those.
You got to do your homework.
Yeah, but if you listen to him, he gives you plenty. The problem is he's done so much from a standpoint of being accessible from a national level. When Nick Saban was there, he might did one interview with Dan Patrick, or what was it, Colin Cowherd when he was at ESPN.
Yep.
That's it. The problem is I don't know what else you can ask about his football team. Like unless you just want to recycle the same stuff, and you could do that, but he has answered about everything that you can, because they're gonna ask him, What does it like to follow Nick Saban? All of us have heard that so
Yes,
many
we
times.
have. Yes,
I mean,
we
think about it.
have.
I mean, how many times have we played that audio clip?
Oh yeah.
But these national guys have not had a chance, and they'll find a way.
Well, but I do like his sincerity
Me too.
of wanting to include everybody. He went into the history of. It's not just Nick Saban in part of this history. He's going all the way back.
And that's the part that when you think about him, I like the way that he has handled this. Quietly, he's been very respectful, but he's also been confident in his skill set. I think that's something that you have to admire, that he's been respectful of Coach Saban. He said all the right things, but he also understands that I'm not intimidated by following in the footsteps of Coach Saban.
No, there's no question about that. And he's Coach Bryant once said, and I say this all the time because this is the truth, the same things win that have always won, only excuses change.
Whoa.
And he says, went and watched the first scrimmage, very little penalties, no turnovers.
Yeah.
He does, he preaches the same things that as far as what you have to do to win, as Kirby, Saban, all the great ones, Coach Bryant. Now, I think he's the things that concern me are there have been two coaches at Alabama that are considered the two greatest coaches of all time. Both of them were taskmasters, right? Yeller screamers. Coach Bryant didn't yell and scream so much as he would grab you. He was a big guy. All right. I mean, I watched him pick Lenny Patrick up off his feet when he was 70 years old by his face mask and his jersey. And he lifted him up like a sack of manure straight up in the air. He was a taskmaster. Saban the same way, would undress you with his tongue. Taskmaster. DeBoer's not like that. Now, I'm not saying that he has to be like that to win at Alabama. I'm just saying that's the difference. And the players have taken to it so far. They absolutely love it.
right.
The players at Alabama absolutely worship DeBoer.
I'm gonna tie it to recruiting. West Neighbors, who brought you on your official visit when you went to Alabama? Who was your host? Who was the player that hosted you when you were coming out of high school?
Oh, well, there were several.
Okay, but
yeah.
you remember that experience. Now,
Yeah.
your dad was a legend, so you had an understanding of Alabama football.
I've been
Okay.
going to the games when I was 10. I was
Okay.
on the sidelines of the
But
Alabama-Tennessee game in Knoxville.
But for players who don't have that, being in that room, in that environment, you know, the part that's being left out, and I want to ask him about this. I asked Courtney Morgan about this. From the player's perspective, Alabama's number one in recruiting, according to On3. They're number two in 247. Rivals has got them 247, is number two. They're number one in SEC, you know, by unanimous right now in recruiting. The players that you just talked about buying in, how much they love him, that's helped them on that recruiting front. Because what happens is when the recruit hears pitch,
no question.
he hears the pitch of, hey, listen, man, we're going to make you this. We're going to make you this. We're going to make you this. And they're able to go behind the scenes and they're like, hey, what's it like to play for this guy? What's it like? The current players have been as big of a part of this recruiting success as the coaching staff. Because
Well, let me say this about my recruiting real quick. This is really unbelievable. There were 10 players from Huntsville on the team when I went there. 10. All these guys I grew up with, playing against mostly. One of them I played with, right? 2 games when I was a freshman, 2 or 3, maybe 3. The whole starting offensive line was from Huntsville. All guys, we all grew up playing against each other. 3 of them were freshmen that were starting. I mean, you think about that, it's just unbelievable.
Well, and they matched those guys up even from California. You know, the young man that committed, Dijon Lee and Chuck McDonald, they matched them up with kids from California. And they're saying, what's it like? What's it like? What's it like? What's it like to be able to, to play here? What's it like to come 2,500 miles across to a university? What's it? And the players have bought in. And to me, I don't know if I've seen this buy-in in Tuscaloosa since Alabama won a national title a couple of years ago. That's why I think Alabama's going to overachieve this year.
I do too.
From a talent standpoint, the talent's still there. It's that mental side of it. And I think you're going to hear from 3 players tomorrow with Jalen, Malachi, and Tyler Booker.
Yeah.
You're going to hear a different tone. I never forget Tyler Booker in A-Day looking at us in the media room, and he told us a story about Nick Sheridan. I may have shared this. If I did, stop me. Tyler Booker looked down at his phone. He said after practice, he's leaving. He went to study hall. He said Nick Sheridan calls him on the phone. And he said, oh, Lord, I looked down my phone. First thing I thought of is for the last 3 years, every time I got a phone call from a coach, it was, what'd you do wrong? Not
good.
Okay. He didn't know how to answer it. He said he answered the phone, and it was Nick Sheridan. He said
explain to everybody who Nick Sheridan is.
Nick Sheridan, offensive coordinator at the University of Alabama. He said he called him up. And he literally said, it is, I just want to say thank you for taking a leadership role. You've been a big asset to what we've been able to accomplish early on. I just want to be able to let you know how much I appreciate you. And he went, whoa. And that was the part of that buy-in of, when your top lineman, projected first rounder, getting a thank you note from the offense coordinator saying, hey, I just want to say I appreciate you for being a leader. And he said, you guys don't understand how much that impressed me. You'll play harder for a guy that.
No question. Yeah, you don't want to. There's two kind of people you play hard, but most of the time you don't want to disappoint somebody. That's when you just sell out. And I think they did that for Coach Saban, and I think they'll do it for DeBoer as well.
So the other part of this whole story that I think is interesting, and you've referenced our trip to Destin, is the conversation we had with the little powwow with Greg Byrne. And I asked Greg Byrne, how many other athletic directors have reached out to you about that 72-hour period?
Great question, too.
And he said 3. And that really, it surprised me in one sense because of the preparation, everything that goes into that. And it just makes me think that there's a lot of people not doing their jobs the right way, because at least for me, if I'm at a Power 5 or Power 4, that'd be the first thing that I'm doing after that, of how did you get from A to B that quickly through that 72-hour period?
I think they targeted him a long time ago. I'm telling you, I think I said this to you guys in Sandestin. I think they targeted him. I think when they interviewed Ryan Grubb last year, I don't think Nick Saban knew that he could get Ryan Grubb away from UW. I think it was to start the evaluation process on Kalen DeBoer, because the best way to find out about somebody is to interview somebody that works for them, and you can find out more information. I think philosophically they sat down with Ryan Grubb and they said, and then because there's just too many things that happen that connects the dots. When he removed when he removed his agent and hired Jimmy Sexton, we should have all been paying attention, but we had our blinders on because we're like, all we've heard about is Nick Saban retiring for the last 5 years. We're not believing that. Come on. I mean, I think I did a radio interview like a week before and said, come on. I mean, I've heard it all. And then he goes retiring. I think when the first contract was offered in October, he let it sit on his desk and said, because it was creating some angst out at Seattle. They were going, hold on a minute. Why? This guy's been here for 2 years. We just offered him a big time deal. He wants to wait till after football season. Well, then the rumblings really started to heat up, and it may not have been Alabama. It may have just been, bigger jobs. And then January gets here right before the national championship or late December. They rolled out another one and said, okay, we're going to enhance that contract, sign the darn thing. He said, I'm not doing it until after football season. He plays the national championship days. 3 days later, he's on a plane coming to Tuscaloosa or whatever it was. You believe that happened? I mean,
I did also like Greg Byrne saying that he drove to Birmingham, so he wasn't going to fly out of Tuscaloosa.
Well, I mean, you can't do anything in Tuscaloosa and let anybody know it.
Yeah.
There's somebody right now writing down plane numbers every day.
Yeah.
But Greg Byrne and his role at the University of Alabama, I mean, to see what all the programs are turning into, the basketball team coming off of a Final Four appearance, and the softball team going to another College World Series. It is remarkable to see all of these sports excel at this high a level at one university.
Well, and you do think about, from our job standpoint, Nate Oates has made our job a lot easier. I mean, he's connected that month of right before spring football. And if March is able to do what we think, Drew could probably tell you better, but his team's going to start out number one, possibly in there. I mean, look at the content. Look at the Alabama fans who look at it and say, and if you can make DeBoer happy, if you can make him happy, and Nate Oates continues at this projection that we're on, you got two coaches that are right around 49 or 50.
Yeah.
You could really be clicking.
So I'm not just bringing this up to kind of pander to the Bama fans. I'm also for Auburn fans, for Georgia fans, for Tennessee fans.
Who is Auburn?
So of just to see what is, if you just take yourself back and look at what's going on, it's hard to say that he's not the best athletic director in collegiate sports.
Yeah, and I remember, well, I don't know if I want to say this, but there was a certain school that had a vacancy, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And I thought, the ties back to Bill Byrne, who was there, and I'm going, okay, is there any way that he listens to these guys? Is there any way that, that he possibly
do I dare say mama calling?
I remember sending him a message, and I said, Alabama fans want to know, I mean, are you going to be in Tuscaloosa? I mean, is this he gave me a few things off record and said, I love it here. I think we're off to a really, really great start. And I think we're going to continue building what we've been able to build. So
crazy to think about. I mean, and this is set up very well. What is a successful year one for for Kalen DeBoer in Tuscaloosa, in your opinion?
Well, okay. Alabama fans, we've got to understand Nick Saban's won one national title in 6 years. I mean, if you really get to look at it like that, he's won. College football's changed, and many of the rules that are designed to slow down Coach Saban, now you have to deal with them. It's harder to win a national title. For one, you got more games, but we're adding two more teams in here. That trip to Oklahoma right before Auburn game, that's a challenge. I mean, you say, well, hold on, it's but I think if you could be in the college football playoffs, look like you're taking steps and continuing the right direction. But, the opposite side of that is, what if they do overachieve? Okay. What if they beat Georgia September the 28th? What if they go on to win an SEC? The rest of the league is like, oh, Lord, here comes Alabama again. Here comes Alabama again. I thought we got rid of that bunch. I mean, you have to cut their head off and bury the snake. And that's, I mean, here it is. I mean, they thought, because what it is they celebrated when Saban retired. But what they didn't see is they had it in their mind that Coach Saban was coaching the way that he did a few years ago, because that program, I'm not saying it was slipping. It was slipping by Alabama standards. And I think this was admirable by Coach Saban as he saw it. And I think because he always told us, every time we'd had one of these media availabilities, and he would be asked, well, when are you going to retire? When I see that I can no longer maintain the standard that I've been able to create. We heard it all.
That's right.
So let's just assume he saw it and wanted to make a move. And I think you guys had him on one of these media days, and he was just talking about how he was hiring coaches.
That's right. He was changing his philosophy
on hiring coaches.
That's
Remember that?
That's
I can't remember when that was. But
it was in Hoover. I know that.
I remember it was in Hoover. But when he said it, I was like, hold on, let that one marinate a little bit, because I think he knew that he could no longer hire coaches. And I think that was the part that was wearing him out. It wasn't on the field. It wasn't, Texas, Georgia ran him out of the league or whatever. It was simply he could not hire the coaches.
Well, Georgia didn't run him out.
Well, that's true. And as a Georgia fan,
I got my property tax bill. Did you?
Let me check. So Georgia, if you're a Georgia fan, okay, you got to look at it from a standpoint of going, because that Alabama team, if you were ranking Nick Saban's greatest teams, I'm talking about from like 2008 to last year, I kind of think in my head which teams that team would be better than. I mean, I'd almost put them at, if you're
Middle of the pack.
Oh, I don't think. No, Lord, no, that was not a good Alabama team. I mean, that team, and Georgia couldn't beat that team. And
no, not only that, they dominated them at the line of scrimmage in that game.
And guys, that was not a great offensive line.
They played. No, I'm gonna tell you, the two guards that played in Alabama, both will be, I think, first round picks in the NFL. They're special.
Yeah, Jaden Robertson.
Yeah.
Swamp monster.
Yeah. I love what Drew says because it's so true. I mean, they are swamp monsters.
Because it's so fitting.
I mean, Jaden, when he started, he didn't start till like the fifth or sixth game.
That's right. And then all of a sudden,
then they got better.
They started clicking.
Yes. So let me ask this. I'm interested. Steve, we'll start with you. Who do you have playing in the SEC championship?
Ole Miss, Texas.
Drew.
Ryan. I'll be Drew.
Drew.
I wish I had. Let me tell you something. I wish I had the knowledge that he has.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I ate for lunch.
Me neither. Or what your name is.
It was fish.
Then
I saw you eating some fish in there.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was good.
There was fish, chicken, and beef. So I had
a little bit of both.
Fish, chicken, and beef.
Yeah.
Okay. I try everything.
So
equal opportunity.
Yeah. No. I'm all about the equal opportunity, especially when it comes to food. I'm nervous about Texas because I don't think they've been able to pin together success. I don't think it's a stretch to put Alabama there. I'm not saying they're going to win it.
No.
But
who do you have?
Well, before
spit it out.
Well, okay, but here's the other part. Like I had Greg Sankey on. I had Greg Sankey on at 4:30. He can't even tell me the tiebreaker, so I'm not sure how I can define who's going to be there. Like he's asking us to submit it. Because the SEC is going to eat itself alive. I mean, they're going to cannibalism itself. I mean, we're going to. I mean, you're not going to Knoxville. You're not going to Baton Rouge. You're not going to Norman and go undefeated. You're going to lose one of those games. What's the criteria to get to Atlanta? We don't know.
Well, you win more than you lose.
Well,
two best records. Come on, it's not that.
But I mean, after that, I would imagine that they would go to the previous tiebreaker, and that was the highest ranked team from the CFP.
I mean, I'll go out on a limb. I think Alabama but I'm not buying Ole Miss either.
You're not.
I'm just 10 starters on offense, 10 on defense. You got to deal with this talk. Now that they have to deal with this talk. Now, the good thing is they don't have Alabama on their schedule. That's good. But you also got Georgia coming to town. So
Georgia plays at Ole Miss.
I think
at Texas.
At Alabama.
Clemson to start out the season.
Yeah. So no. Go.
This is why I'm not picking Georgia.
I like Georgia and Alabama. I mean, if you put me and said you're going to put real money on it, I say Georgia and Alabama, and I think it'll continue. I think Kirby said it today.
So let me ask you a question, Steve. How have I been picking the SEC championship? But 90-some% would you say easy? Yeah.
I'd say, yeah. Right, more than
picked Alabama, but didn't pick Georgia last year.
You did not.
But they didn't win it. So
no, they did not.
So who do you like?
I think it's going to be Ole Miss and Alabama.
Oh, so you think Ole Miss and Alabama?
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is going to
be. See that, and that's hard to wrap your mind around because it's like coming from the West, and you're trying to, in your mind, you're putting two teams from the West.
That'll be
yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I mean,
no, because they don't play each other. The only way they play each other is in the SEC championship or the playoffs.
All right, if Georgia's not there,
but Georgia's going to have. I think Ole Miss. That's a huge game for Georgia.
So this is why when Alabama exposed what Georgia had along the defensive front, and they did not address it this offseason, that is a real problem.
We interviewed Griffith says they have to get better. Well, guess what?
Yeah,
that just doesn't happen. I mean, they're catchers.
Well,
they're not dominant football players. They're catchers. and that's hard to change.
Well,
in a
and,
year.
and then you look at Bo Davis down at LSU.
But they don't have any
They
players.
don't have any defensive.
They don't have any defensive linemen.
Yeah.
I've had people go to those practices, and they say that they're not very good on defense
All
again.
right. So and so you kind of eliminate LSU in your mind.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I had an analyst on earlier today. He said he's not really sure that LSU is going to be that much better on the defense, but you're not going to have that
They're
offense
not.
to cover you.
No,
Exactly.
you're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nussmeier will not look like
No.
Jaden Daniels.
No.
I mean, that's easy.
Yeah.
So if your defense is not going to be any better, your offense is going to take a step back.
But, yeah.
I'm not picking LSU.
No, I mean they're going to win games. They're going to win games because they do have some players, but they're not going for the SEC championship. I don't think, unless somebody shows up that I don't know about on defense. It's hard to outscore everybody in the SEC every week. It's
And I'm not
done.
sure they know about it either. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
Who are you looking forward to hearing from the most tomorrow, be it Kalen DeBoer or any of the three players?
I'm going to tell you guys, you'll fall in love with Tyler Booker. I'm just telling you.
Well, I fallen in love with him watching him play already.
Well, when he looked at us, we looked at Chris Lowe first and said it. Then we asked about it in spring. But when we asked him to elaborate on the one thing, and I'm telling you, this is refreshing. Not criticizing anybody who takes NIL money. It's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's fair game. Okay, it's legal now. That's why Auburn can't get out of the dump because everybody's doing it. Well, I mean that's it's truth. I mean that's how they separate themselves with throwing checks. Now everybody's throwing checks, so you can't. It's hard to get out once you get there, right? I mean, that just in the gutter, you try to fight your way out. Tyler Booker, he said, "My legacy. I can't put a price tag on my legacy. My legacy cannot be bought." Man, that comment right there makes you run through a wall. I mean, I don't care if you're at Oklahoma or Mississippi State or whatever. I mean, for a young man at his age to say that, my legacy cannot be bought. Now, that tells me a couple of things.
It sounded like Coach Saban might have said that to him.
Well, it sounded like a couple of those players might have sold their legacy to go to other spots.
You think?
And his teammates said,
Well, there's no question about that.
yeah, he said, Amari Knobloch, Isaiah Bond, my legacy's not for sale. Tyler Booker is the player. I'm telling you. Now, listen, Jalen Milroe can talk the best of them. I thought when we were out at the Rose Bowl, I thought Milroe's response to losing the game was better than Nick Saban's. Go back and compare the two. I mean, he was up there going.
Yeah, the only problem I had was after they won the SEC championship, he was basically saying, "I told you so," the non-believers,
Oh,
or this or that.
And that Heisman stuff when he
And-
threw the helmet at Auburn.
Yeah, so the to me, that was he lost his edge.
I hear you.
And you got to keep the edge, and I hope he gets it back because he has a lot, and you got to win. I mean, when you have another game to play, it was awesome then when because nobody expected them to win the Southeastern Conference last year, especially after Texas lost and then they performed so bad as a team.
Oh, they were going to be a 4-loss team last year.
Yeah, I mean, I wish you could have heard some of that. I needed to tape. If they lose a game this year, I'm taping it. And then they will lose a game.
And, and Jim Nagy told me, talking about Jalen Milroe, he said he thought he's heard he's running in the 4.3s.
He's fast. He looks like he shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
And he is a big dude.
Yeah.
No, and the fumble and the Michigan game probably turned the game around, but they wouldn't have been there without him. So, I mean, I'm a Jalen Milroe fan. I like watching him play. I like he watched him develop last year, and his play in the Georgia game was unbelievable. And then Tennessee game, the second half, the way he played in that game, the LSU game. I mean, he played some big games and played very well. The last throw of the Auburn game was not a Hail Mary. That was a dart he threw for a touchdown. So I'm a Jalen Milroe fan. He needs to keep his edge and keep he can't get too excited about good plays. He can't be too down on the bad plays.
Yeah, good point.
Ryan, always appreciate the time, sir. Let's all rest up and get ready for Alabama Day. It's Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, and Texas.
Poor old Mississippi State. What did they do to get that?
Well, I mean, if you're Billy Napier, That's the day you want to be here.
The way Mississippi State played last year, they'll be glad that. Hopefully they'll be better this year.
Well, and I like Mississippi State. I love going to Starkville to watch a game.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we were there.
Yeah, I mean, I love the ice cream at halftime. By the way,
amen. That's right. That's it.
They do the media thing. They give us ice cream, and it's made at the Mississippi State Dairy. Best. Listen, Bluebell. I love you guys. If you guys want to buy advertising, but I'm telling you, the best ice cream, Stark Vegas. Unbelievable.
I'd wait
to go to a game there.
I'd wait 900 pounds.
That's the only reason I go, and I'm gonna miss it every other year now. I mean, appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's go ahead and take our first time out. We'll continue with our coverage, day 2 of SEC Media Days, live here on Radio Row. Mike Griffith.
You're listening to SEC Media Days on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling sluggish? Gentlemen, Game Day Men's Health. Game Day Men's Health is here to help you. Braden is here. Braden, you've got the answers.
Thanks, Scott. Whether it's low T, erectile dysfunction, weight loss, or a number of other things, we have the solution for them.
It's Game Day Men's Health. Give them a call today at
256-850-1570.
You can find them online.
GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Hey! What man wouldn't like to have tests done in a man cave?
That's right. Come in for your free test and consultation. Walk into a world-class staff, a comfortable, relaxed environment, and we got your results in about 20 minutes with appointments less than an hour.
And the big game is always on the TV. It's Game Day Men's Health. Give them a call.
256-850-1570.
You can find them online at GameDayMen'sHealth.com/Huntsville/The Zone.
AL cert number 21014.
As the summertime approaches, and if you are in the business for a new air conditioning unit, only one place to call, Talon Heating and Air. Thomas from Talon Heating and Air with us. Thomas, this is the time.
That's right. People are needing HVAC, air conditioner repairs done left and right, and we're here to serve.
Talk about the services that Talon Heating and Air can provide.
So Talon Heating and Air, we can come out, we can fix your unit, we can replace your unit, or we can just do maintenance on your unit. We cover all aspects of anything to do with your house and HVAC, from mini splits to gas pack.
In the name of free, Talon Heating and Air offering several free things.
That's right. We're offering a free second opinion. We always offer that year round. And then we're also offering a free service call with a repair during regular hours. So
okay, it's Talon Heating and Air. Give them a call at
256-503-4490.
You can also find them online at
talenthvac.com.
Give Talon Heating and Air a call today.
There's power in caring when it is put into action. Each year, our bankers serve on nonprofit boards, support our local educators, and volunteer with our hometown food bank. I'm Bobby Humphrey, Vice President of Business Development for Bryan Bank, and community service is just not a line item in our mission statement. It's who we are. Because after all, Alabama is our home too. That kind of commitment to community might not be what you would expect from a bank, but it's exactly what you can expect from us. Give us a call or stop by one of our 2 offices in the Huntsville area and experience unbeatable service and legendary results.
Bryan Bank Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 2428943. FDIC.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
Back here along Radio Row, it is our coverage of SEC Media Days. Day number 2 rolls along from the Big D. We had Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Missouri today. Tomorrow, Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, and Texas will arrive. And everything that at least we're hearing for you Bama fans out there, you may want to be paying attention very closely to Talking Ball tomorrow morning right here along Radio Row, as players and coach will be along very early. So just plan accordingly. Had an opportunity to talk to Mike Griffith. The pom-poms were out. After all, it is Dog Day. Mike Griffith. Mike. Goodness gracious, where to start here with the Georgia Bulldogs? What was your takeaways from Georgia?
Well, I thought Kirby really moved the needle today. You know, he talked about finding players, and you know, we're in this NIL era that's brought a lot of new world problems, unintended consequences, and it seems like we've all kind of been sitting back saying at some point something's got to be done. It just felt like college football was getting out of control, and certainly at Georgia, a rash of some speeding tickets, and 2 years after, a tragic death of a player and a recruiting staffer. And there were a lot of questions, and rightfully so. What is Kirby doing about this? What is Georgia doing? Well, unbeknownst to us, the collectives agency associated with Georgia that's contracted with these players, they're finding players. And, they work in collaboration with Georgia. So, yes, the universities have leverage. And if you get a speeding ticket, you're going to get hit in the wallet. And we're talking 5 digits here. This is not something insignificant. And this is needed, right? If we're going to see college football go towards an NFL model, then you've got to have NFL level consequences, right? And so I thought that was really big. It'll be interesting to see if or when other programs come out and reveal that they too are fining players for infractions. I mean, running the stadium steps just doesn't work anymore because guy can transfer, guy can sweat through it. And you don't necessarily want to always just suspend players for traffic infractions, because now you've hurt the whole team. And you've hurt the school's ability to generate revenue in an era where that's really needed to cover a lot of these salaries. Let's call them what they are. I thought today was I thought it was a groundbreaking announcement. I'm a little surprised. I mean, there's a lot of live bullets. There's a lot of storylines. But to me, that was the most relevant story to come out of SEC Media Days to this point.
Well, so it seems like Kirby has really grown into this leadership role and turning, with everything changing around the college football world, you can see the evolution of Kirby right in front of us as well.
No doubt about it. And, there's the coaches that will adapt and the coaches that won't.
Yeah.
And, Eli Drinkwitz's another example of a coach that's adapted. That's, you've seen Missouri now prospering in this NIL era. It's going to help more programs and others that have the right leadership, that have the foresight. And I think Kirby's, made a lot of good decisions. It's just, you've had Nick Saban there, who's, king of college football and still doing incredible work. I just had a chance to, shake his hand and tell him how much I've really enjoyed his commentary and his insights. I mean, we enjoyed it, once a week and after games, but now getting Nick in a relaxed mode where he's able to really talk about things even outside his program, his genius is really coming through to me. So, but yeah, now Kirby's getting that recognition, and I think Kirby's comfortable with that. I don't think he's necessarily concerned with the media image or trying to get extra attention.
Yeah.
But now that he's been put in this position, to make, like I said, groundbreaking announcements, decisions, revelations like today about finding players, because there's going to be some blowback. There's going to be some programs that are going to say, "Oh, Georgia will fine you. You go there," But Kirby's made the decision. Look, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to be that program. It's not going to get out of control. There is responsibility to the general public and their safety. And I think a lot of college football fans probably applauded Kirby Smart today.
So with the SEC championship game, the Georgia-Bama game, I thought we saw a glaring weakness along the defensive front.
You did.
For the Georgia Bulldogs. Did they address that, you think?
Well, Mykel Williams is here, and Mykel was good last year, but not great. He had some injuries in fall camp. And as Kirby said, and I'm sure Wes could attest, when a football player falls behind injury-wise, it's not a video game. It's not like you just push the button and the guy's back to 100. That injury lingers, and it puts him behind in his development and his maturation into the system. And Mike Hill's a young player. We knew that he had first-round potential. Now that he's finally healthy, and we saw the impact in the G-Day game, I don't expect fans to watch spring games and read between the lines, but let me tell you, the guy dominated. And at 265, we're talking about a guy that can play defensive end, defensive tackle, and edge, being looked at as a top 5 pick. So, you've got some Trayvon Walker-like similarities. So there's your dominator on the line. Now they still need Nazir Stackhouse and Warren Brinson to come back and step it up in the interior defensive line. They're both big. Neither one of them has hit that, what did Kirby call it, train wrecker status. They need those guys to step up and become more dominant. They have another good edge in Shaz Chambliss, a little bit more one-dimensional. On the linebacking core, now 1 year older, and that's significant. You go back to last year's SEC title game, Bama's first touchdown comes on a 1st and 20 from the Georgia 28. Listen, on 1st and 20 against the Georgia defense, that's supposed to be bad news. But broken coverage from a freshman linebacker, Milroe picks it up, 7 points Alabama. If that's an experienced backer, what's the name of that guy that transferred to Alabama that forced a fumble from Georgia? I'm trying to think of his name. He would have been the guy for Georgia that would have been in there. But instead, he's lined up for Bama, forcing a fumble on Georgia. You talked about the importance of transfers and championship depth, and there it was. Could that transfer have made the difference in the game? You wonder. Look at they didn't have the receiver. Scored a touchdown against Bama for Texas on the perimeter this year. Scored a touchdown against Bama when he was at Georgia. What if he doesn't so these are the little intangibles and the things that a lot of college football fans pulling their hair out on. Oh my gosh, if we still had that guy. But to get back to your point, those linebackers are 1 year older. You're not going to see those busts. Very uncharacteristic on Alabama or Georgia defenses. So I think the front seven, while still perhaps not as dominant as 2021 or 2022, will be markedly better than last season.
So
that is just a little bit of Mike Griffith. We do need to take our final timeout. We'll hear more from Mike on the other side of our final timeout. It is day 2 of our coverage of SEC Media Days. So what were you asking me? Reload tonight, question mark? Yeah. Perfect. What do you mean reload? No. Yeah, since you've already fixed it, all that would do is make it back to 4-minute breaks if you reloaded it, because the stop sets inside it say 4 minutes, so it would populate it back to 4 minutes. So that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. Oh, you went inside there. You manipulated the ESPN NBA clock. So you did that over there. So yeah, go ahead and do that then. Yeah. Well, I'll have to go back and see every clock is different, but that's a good way to do it. That's a good way to do it. Thank you.
You're listening to SEC Media Days on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at North Alabama Mortgage. Did you know that average home equity is at an all-time high, but so is average consumer debt? Even though rates are higher now, you can use your equity to pay off your high consumer debt, student loans, etc., then refi when the rates drop. Don't put off that new home purchase. When rates drop, prices will go up. Buy now and get the best price and then refi when the rates drop. This is the time to talk to the experts at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com for more information. With over 25 years of appliance experience, Mike Owen and the good folks at Owen Home Appliance are known for their great selection of used appliances. But did you know that they now carry new appliances as well? Brands like Frigidaire, GE, Sharp, Danby, Samsung, Z-Line, and yes, Speed Queen Laundry is available at Owen Home Appliance. Plus, they have recliners so you can relax and watch the game. Give Mike a call at 256-754-5052 or head down to the store at 11 Union Hill Road in Somerville. Owen Home Appliance. They'll treat you right.
When the most respected company worldwide puts its name on a real estate sign, that's a sign you'll want to see. When a company known for straight talk enters real estate, that's a sign the market is changing. Confidence is back, and that's good to know. Introducing Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Look.
It's kind of like sand. You think you have it all, then there's like more pieces come around.
Winding things down here along Radio Road, day 2 of SEC Media Days, walking you up to the 94th All-Star Game, which is right across the way here from the Omni, and Paul Skeens will be on the mound for the National League. The 22-year-old will become the 5th rookie pitcher in the history to start the Midsummer Classic, and the first since Hideo Nomo. How about that for a name? From 1995 with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Going to wrap things up here, furthering our continuing conversation with Mike Griffith right now.
Two techniques. The guys you're talking about are catchers. They're not playmakers. Right. They haven't been. They're very good against good players catching because they can't do anything with them. But Alabama was able to move them because they're really big, especially a guard, and they're great players. So they have to step it up in the big games. They'll still dominate the games they dominated all year, but when they get against good or better opponents, are they going to be able to step it up? And that's what Kirby wants them to do. And that was the difference in the game, was that Alabama was able to run the ball.
No doubt about it, because now you can't make a team one-dimensional, and now you've got the defense and run-pass conflict, and that's where the magic can happen.
Because, I mean, there was a lot of assumptions heading into that of it being a playoff game. And I do wonder with the expansion of the playoffs, I mean, it feels like we all had the assumption that both teams are now heading into the playoffs, although, seeding is definitely a factor.
No doubt. You're playing for that bye, and it means everything. You got to have that bye. That's one less game, right? That's going to be on your players'
Everybody that loses the SEC championship always they hadn't played in the SEC championship. Well, the ones that win it'll be happy.
Shades of 2017 Bama, right? I mean, they actually benefited not playing in it. So whereas Georgia had to play the extra game. So to your point, I think those games are still going to matter. And look, I don't necessarily think it's a lock. Maybe it should be, but I don't think it's a lock that if you lose the SEC championship game, you're getting in. I mean, what if it's a 2-loss team playing in the SEC title game, and there's 2 other 2-loss teams sitting out there? Say Ole Miss and Missouri. Let's say it's a 2-loss Bama that gets knocked off by Georgia or Texas, for example, and now it's a 3-loss Bama versus a 2-loss Missouri, or maybe a 2-loss Ole Miss, or or a team that had beat them head to head. I mean,
I just don't think the playoff committee depends on what the game's like, right?
Great point.
Yeah.
I mean, if they get blown out, but if they don't get blown out, if it's a close game.
It's almost like you shouldn't count it as a loss.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, if it's a 2 losses and the other guys have 2 losses and didn't play, of course, a lot depends. If Alabama beat Missouri,
true,
then that's one of their losses. Yeah, but they don't play Ole Miss, so.
Or if you're Ohio State, you can lose to Iowa and it's no big deal.
But that's Ohio State though. They can get beat by 20 points at home and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they change the rules as they go along. Remember that year, the COVID year, you had to play 6 games. Well, let's just change the rule mid-season here. Give me a break.
That's right.
It's a possibility Alabama, Georgia play 3 times. It's a possibility.
It is a possibility.
And it's not like a low percentage possibility. They're going to be 2 of the best teams in the country. There's no doubt about that. You got to give Georgia the nod, in my opinion, because I think they have the best quarterback. They probably have, and they have Kirby. They have their staff back. But you look, if Alabama were to play, they're favored, I know, in the game right now in Vegas, in Tuscaloosa. They won't be favored if they meet again in Atlanta. And there's a good possibility they'll end up playing 3 times next year. And it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not predicting it's going to happen. It's just it's a better than average chance it happens, though.
It's
which I think's wrong, kind of, in a way.
Well, Wes, you say that, and I guess you have more faith in the College Football Playoff Committee than I do, because I do think that these matchups are somewhat contrived. I go back to the year Cincinnati was undefeated and Notre Dame had just gotten pounded by 3 touchdowns by Clemson. And so Notre Dame got in ahead of an undefeated Cincinnati. I don't think they should have, but let's face it.
I agree with that.
Notre Dame was a hot ticket item, and that's one of the dangers of this committee. I know that we're advancing the ball, and in many ways college football is getting better and more interesting for the greater good, but this committee it's just too vague. Kirby said it after 2018. Every year the standards and the numbers change. One thing I liked about the BCS was the formula was out there.
That's right.
Your schedule strength mattered.
I never had a problem with the BCS, and
0.
Steve would tell you that.
The numbers were the numbers, but now it's like, let's maybe manipulate the matchups a little bit to get a little bit more about what we want.
So ETN out of the gate had the issues, but I've heard good things about him coming out of spring. What have you heard?
I'm blown away. I am blown away by this guy. I think he's dynamic. I think he'll be the newcomer of the year. What I saw in that spring game really surprised me. He looked a little bit small. When I was watching him at practice, boy, this guy's a little smallish. I don't know if a guy this size can run between the tackles, but I saw him run through some people in the spring game with just the kind of power that you wouldn't expect from somebody in that package. I saw him get the edge on a Georgia defense, which not many players do. I'll tell you the comparison I have, and listen, I'm not getting carried away with it, but Rod Robinson, they have a 240-pound running back. He's not Derrick Henry. And I think ETN is better than Kenyon Drake. But if you remember that Thunder and Lightning combo, I think this is very similar in terms of what ETN can do, only more and better than Drake. Now, Robinson's no Derrick Henry. I don't know many people that are, but he is going to bring a power element and move some piles. So that's what I think we'll see out of the run game.
That is just a portion of our conversation that we had with Mike Griffith earlier today. There is so much we didn't get to, and I promise we will have more coverage for you, as Tennessee was a team that was focused on today. And frankly, I still have the same questions about the Vols that I had entering into Media Days. So we'll see what happens for the Vols here for what is year four for Josh Heupel. But we are walking you up to the 94th Midsummer Classic. That is going to wrap us up here from Radio Row. Again, for you Bama fans, bright and early. You may want to tune in bright and early tomorrow morning as the first team out of the gate. You'll be able to hear Kalen DeBoer in the main media room at 9:05, John. 9:05, John. So that will come up, but players are slated to come on down before they go through the car wash around here at the Omni. Appreciate you listening and watching right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.